This is Leo Cloutier with Malice to a None. We're here at Al Lang Field today, the spring training base of the St. Louis Cardinals, and it's indeed a pleasure to have as our guest the manager of the St. Louis Cardinals. I'd like to welcome to our show Red ๊šeɪndiːnst. Welcome, Red.
Thank you very much, Leo.
Well, Red, it certainly is a pleasure to have you as our guest. Red, before we go on to this interview, I do want to say one thing that we share in common. February 2nd happens to be our birthday.
Well, good. That's fine. We don't want to look at February 2nd anymore. Anyhow, I don't. I'm old enough right now.
I feel the same way. Red, you've had a very impressive career as a player. You played for some 18 years, 14 for the St. Louis Cardinals, and batted .289 for a lifetime, which is quite an accomplishment.
Well, it was pretty good, and we played a whole lot, of course, and I was lucky enough to be in the big leagues as long as I had been there, and of course, and after my playing days was over as a manager of the Cardinals, so I've been pretty lucky in this game, and it's been good to me, and I hope it stays good.
Well, you've also been good to the game too, Red. There's no doubt about that. Red, you've had some tremendous years. For instance, you batted .342. I think it was 1953, which is quite an accomplishment.
Well, that year I almost led the league in hitting, and I just barely missed out. And I'd like to lead the league. That's one thing that I really did want to do more than anything is either be the most valuable player or the most valuable player and lead the league. But there were so many good ball players in the league at the time I just didn't quite make it.
Well, you were one of the good ones. There's no doubt about that. Red, you also had another tremendous year in which you scored or collected 200 hits, which is quite an accomplishment. You were playing for the Giants and the Braves at that time.
Yeah, well, that was when we played at, 154 ball games or whatever it was, and I've always been right around at 200 hits and 190 something practically every year, and there's a few years where I was hurt. I didn't play throughout the whole year, but to get 200 hits, that's quite a number of hits in a year, so you've got to feel yourself pretty lucky, and you have to get a few base hits that have to be lucky, a handle hit or something like that when you do get 200 hits.
Well, it is quite an accomplishment. Red, as a manager, you've had considerable success. Let's say more than the ordinary share of a manager. You won 2 National League pennants and also a World Series title.
Well, that's pretty lucky, and you know, a lot of ball players, they play for years and years as a player and then as a coach and never get on a championship ball club, so anytime you're on a championship ball club, you consider yourself real lucky, and I guess I'd have to say as a manager of a ball club to win the championship is quite a thrill for a manager, although I've played many years in baseball and been on championship ball clubs, and but I guess the first one is the most exciting that you're on, and but when you're a manager, you feel that you accomplish as much as when you were a ball player.
And Red, we in New England will never forget 1967, and neither will you. You not only won the pennant, but you also won that World Series against the Boston Red Sox, our favorite club in our part of the country.
Well, there was a good ball club. There was 2 good ball clubs on the field, and at that particular time, and of course, you got to have a little luck in this game a number of times, and they had a good ball club, and we were lucky a few times in getting a base hit, and there's a few times where you'd say, well, we hit some balls good right at their infielders or outfielders where they caught them, and it happened the same way for them, but we had Gibson with us, of course, and Gibson won 3 ball games, and he was at his top that particular World Series. Well, he couldn't be much better than any other time, but we played an outstanding ball club. The Red Sox had a good defensive club. They had good pitching. But I would have to say that hurt their ball club, as I think Lonberg had a pitch in that last ball game in which we already cinched our pennant, where we could give our pitchers the right amount of rest before they started. So Lonberg had a pitch, I think, with a day and a half or 2 days rest, so that makes a difference quite a bit. But our ball club was not to be denied, and their club wasn't either, and we just won out in 7 ball games. I thought it was an outstanding series.
It certainly was. Red, you mentioned the name of Bob Gibson, who has certainly been quite a pitcher for your ball club. I'd say today, and I know you'll agree, that he's probably the best right-hander in baseball, isn't he?
Well, he's been a tremendous pitcher for so many years, and when he came here again this spring, he was 2 days late. He had some business he took care of, and he joined in with the other pitchers and did the same amount of work they did after even being late 2 days. And if you see him out here, he works as hard as a kid 19 or 20, and this is why the guy's such a good pitcher. He gives you a little extra. You don't have to tell him what to do. have a program set up for everybody on the ball club, and he goes right through the routine with everybody with a routine that you have, but then he'll do a lot of work on his own. He'll do extra work, and anytime you see a ball player, or I would have to say just in any kind of business, you give the manager or you give the company a little extra work more than what they just ask you, you're going to be a pretty successful guy, and this is what Gibson does.
Red, you've played with Stan the Man Musial, who probably was undoubtedly one of the greatest you've ever seen.
Well, yes, I played with Stan. I played with some real great ball players. I played with Willie Mays. I played against Willie Mays, Hank Aaron, and with him, and against him, and same way with Musial. And the three guys that I mentioned, I know there's so many other ball players that I didn't mention that are outstanding ball players. I'm just talking about the National League now, because you don't see the American League that much. I know Ted Williams, Joe DiMaggio, and guys like that, Charlie Keller, Yogi Berra. They're all great ball players, but I'm just talking about the National League right now. And being with Stan and with Aaron and Willie Mays, you like to have all three of them in their prime on a ball club. One of them in center field, one of them in right, and one of them in left field, and then maybe take your pick from there on, and I think you'd have an outstanding ball club. Stan, of course, there's a lot of people that really didn't see Stan play in his prime. I know in the later years, just like Willie Mays is right now and Henry Aaron, Aaron's got quite a few more years left, but Willie, a lot of people look at Willie right now the way they looked at Stan when they're the last 2 years, they're not in their prime anymore, and they kind of look at it, well, he wasn't maybe so great, but when you look at their records, they're great. And Stan had great balance on the bases. He knew when to run, he knew where to throw the ball, and he just knew all the fundamentals of the game. He just knew what to do at all times. And the same way with Willie Mays and Aaron. There is a lot of great ball players playing today also that are the same caliber. So we hope we can continue with great ball players throughout baseball.
Red, you mentioned Hank Aaron, who's undoubtedly one of the greatest players in the game today. And he's only 37, although that's quite an age in baseball. Experts are figuring that he's got a chance to break Babe Ruth's all-time home run total of 714. He has 590-something now. What do you think?
Well, it's pretty tough, Of course, Henry's got a few years left to play, and a guy like Aaron, a guy like Mays and Musial, they're got the physical makeup where they never come in too heavy. They keep their weight down all the time, which is a big thing. And I think Henry can play a long time, and I think he's got a shot at it. And it just depends. If Aaron don't get hurt in any way, I think he might have a pretty good chance to do it.
One more question, Red, before we close. What do you think of the chances of the St. Louis Cardinals this year?
Well, I feel more confident about our ball club this year than I did last year. This year we have a lot of boys that we can play in the positions where you want them to play. Last year we only had Joe Torre as a catcher, and I wanted to play him at third because Shannon got sick down here and wouldn't be able to play, so we were pretty well short on catching with only having Joe, and didn't have a third baseman, had 4 or 5 first basemen, and we were playing everybody practically out of position, and this is what hurt our pitching. Our defense wasn't as good as you'd like to have seen it last year, and I think this had a lot to do hurting our defense. So I feel now that with the club that we have ball players that we can put in a position, and they know how to play it, so this will help our ball club to win this year.
Well, Red, I certainly want to thank you very much for this interview, and I want to wish you not only a divisional title, but also that National League pennant and then that World Series championship.
Well, we'd like to come back to Boston again. That's a good city.
We'd like to see it. Thank you very much, Red. This was an interview with Red ๊ʃeɪndiːnst, the manager of the St. Louis Cardinals, and this brings us to the end of With Malice to It. And then here at Al Lang Field in St. Petersburg, Florida, Leo Cloutier. Good day.
Brought to you by PosterFix. At PosterFix, we bring your vintage posters back to life. To learn more about Leo Cloutier's sports world, visit leocloutier.com.